Hello, welcome back to a vinyasa flow with me, Freddie. For this class, I'm taking you through a slightly shorter class for beginners. But this class is really fabulous if you're just working perhaps more in alignment and you're a seasoned yogi and you want to almost strip back the practice. So there might be cues in which I'm offering that you've never heard before that might resonate. So really listening to perhaps the language in this one. We are starting lying down. You might like for yourself 1 or 2 yoga bricks if you have them, but don't worry if not. So lying down on the back here, drawing both thighs into the belly, we start in our cradle pose here. So we're going to start by just having the hands to the knees or to the shins. Allowing the shoulders to shrug away from the ears, closing the eyes, encouraging the chin to drop down toward the breastbone. And just noticing if there's any stiffness in the jaw. Is there a clenching of the teeth, a tightness in the forehead, a scrunching of the eyelids? Are you subconsciously holding and wasting these precious energy reserves that we have? You're really landing on the space of the mat, melting the skin of the sacrum, that lower region of the back, down to the earth space. And maybe spreading the shoulder blades. We move earthbound, allowing the limbs to hang out, to feel heavy. Bones dropping us down. And then you're taking a lengthening through your left leg. Keep that right thigh drawn in. Maybe interlace the hands around the shin. Pull your left toes back. One breath to hug in. And as you breathe out, you're slightly releasing that. Inhale, squeezing it in. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Open your right arm out to a T shape. You can soften through your left toes here, rolling onto your left side, so you encourage this crossing over of the right thigh. Now I'm actually going to move to find my brick so you can see what I mean when you might like a little bit of support just to land either to the inner ankle or to the knee. Left hand on the right knee, gaze looking back to that right hand. Maybe you could encourage the wing of the left, the right shoulder blades to just melt. Move toward the floor. That might not be today. May not be in this lifetime. It's really meeting yourself where you are. How have you arrived on the mat today? Now give it another breath. You might like to cactus. That right arm bending at the elbow, palm shining up to the sky, a little more pressure in the head of the shoulder there. Deep breaths. And then roll onto the back space. You're going to bend both the knees, coming into this bridge preparation. So the arms are going to reach down and you're almost going to, and you can wiggle the fingers to almost tickle the backs of the heels there. So it's just measuring out sort of the alignment of maybe where the heels might like to be. Toes are both pointing toward the top of the mat. Palms are down, secured to the floor. Gaze is up to sky, and that doesn't change. We don't turn the head side to side. Press into your feet. Tuck your tailbone under and start to roll up the chain of the spine. And we breathe in here at the top. We hold for 3, for 2, for 1. Exhale, rolling down between the shoulder blades, vertebra by vertebra, mid-back, lower back. And then just take the feet wide, knees stay bent, arms can sweep out wide, almost like you've grown wings. Take the knees to the right here. Keep that left knee pointing to the end of the mat. Hook the right heel over the top of the left thigh. And again, if you wanted this brick to maybe just support the outer right thigh, you could do. You're turning your head this time to the left, tongue loose in the mouth. Maybe it finds that left wall of the cheek. So quite a deep internal rotation for this left thigh, stirring that thigh bone in the hip socket. And then we're going to release that right heel, foot goes wide, knees point up to the sky. We'll do that on the other side. So right leg lengthens, bricks already here. We draw the left thigh in and you're just going to take that inhale, right toes pull back. Exhale, maybe it moves slightly away. So it's this wave-like breath, oceanic-like breath. Inhale, exhale. Perhaps you could narrow at the base of the throat as you inhale and you exhale, known as our victorious breath, Ujjayi breath. We take the right hand to this left knee, left arm opens, palm is up, facing sky, roll to the right, soften through these right toes, maybe landing to floor, to brick, head turns to the left. And just being aware of the breath, so slightly perhaps this winded feeling as we've got this quite deep rotation into the abdominals, into the belly, and the chest, the lungs. Maybe it's a bending of that left elbow, trying to press back of the forearm, back of the hand down to the earth. For me, quite challenging. For some of you, maybe you find that really quite nourishing, quite stimulating. Another breath. Feel the pressure down that outer chain, the outer seam of that right leg. And then you're going to roll yourself back. This time, bend your knees. Your hands are actually going to make a fist in your bridge beneath you. So have them ready. Heels are rooted down, feet are hips width distance. Tuck your tailbone, press into the four corners of the feet. We want to imagine between the knees, the thighs, there is a balloon being held, and we don't want to drop the balloon by allowing feet to roll to the outer edges. Obviously this is exaggerated, and the knees to wing out, or for that balloon to pop when the knees go in. Staying here, pressing into the hands or finding your fist, you could walk the shoulders a little bit further underneath the chest, press a little more down into the heels, driving the pelvis up. We hold for 2, for 1. Release the bind, untuck the shoulders, roll down, vertebra by vertebra. Try to keep that really slow, really controlled. Feet go wide, this time knees sweep to the left, arms splay out. Take your head to the right, left heel hooking on top of that right thigh, and maybe you bring your brick just to wedge or bridge the gap between your knee, your thigh, the floor. For 3 breaths. Maybe you're feeling that internal fascial support soften around that brick. Ujjayi breath, feeling that slight narrowing, that tightening at the base of the throat. You might bring that in. It has a heating quality to the body, to the practice. Unwind your legs here. That's it. We're going to come into our happy baby. You could hold the outer edges of the feet here. Knees draw into the armpits. You might go ahead and hold the inner heels, making sure your head stays connected down to earth. Can you press a little more energy, a little more intention into the lower space of the back to avoid the tailbone peeling off the mats? Lower back, dropping down as if it's cemented down to the earth. You could rock here for 3, for 2, and for 1. And then we're going to take the legs together, hold behind the thighs. We rock back, we roll forwards. We rock back and we roll forwards. And you can take as many of those as you like. I'm now going to take my hands forward and move to the middle of the mat. So coming to our tabletop, we're going to take our cat-cow, so knees underneath the hips, wrists underneath the shoulders, fingers spread, and I think about our hands here almost like sticky finger pads, so we want something that's gripping. Drop your belly, navel drops to the earth, tailbone picks up, throat opens, lifting your gaze. That's our cow. Exhale into your cat. We really find this flexion of the spine, so we're trying to tuck the tailbone, tuck the chin, press the body away from the floor. 5 more. Inhale, think pulling your collarbones, your chest through the gate of the arms. Exhale, tuck your chin, soften in the nape of the neck, press into the shins. For 4, inhale. Exhale. Inhale. You could stay here or you could come into rolling cat. So we press back, hips to heels. Drop your forearms, graze your nose. Inhale forward, lifting your gaze, your sternum, the elbows straighten. We're back to cow. Into your cat, rounding, rolling, dropping back. Scooting forward, inhale. Lift the gaze. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And then moving the shoulders and the hips. And then if you can go in the other way, that feels perhaps a little bit complex in the body. Known as a funky cat. But any movement, it might be figure of 8 with the hips. Hands could walk forward. Yeah, it could be quite indulgent circles and just getting to know any little gristly sections, any areas of tension. You might spend a little bit longer there. You might just work into those little pockets. Can they dissolve? Can they be known? Maybe they're making themselves wildly known. From here, we come to puppy pose. So the tailbone stays lifted to the sky. The hands walk out wide, top corners of the mat, and the nose and the chest lower down. Holding here for 5 breaths. In for 5. Out for 5. In for 4. Out for 4. In for 3. Out for 3. In for 2. Out for 2. And in for 1. And out for 1. Bring your hands beneath your shoulders, gently guide yourself up to all fours. You're going to swing the legs around to in front of you. We move into our Matsyendrasana. Matsyendrasana, it's a seated twist. You pull your toes back. We start in Dandasana, hands down by the hips, fingertips pointing toward the top of the mat, lifting through the crown of the head, dropping the shoulders down away from the ears. Could you think about those toes, even those little pinky ones, drawing back to the heart space, lifting the kneecaps up the thigh bones and slotting the thigh bones a little bit higher up into the hips. Strong and engaged here. From here, we start to soften a little bit. You're going to bend your right knee, draw that in. Can you pop the foot down, still seated tall? And take your right foot over the left thigh. My foot is grounded and I'm still keeping this tall spine rather than slouching and rolling onto the back of the pelvis. Can you take your right hand down behind you? Lift your left bicep by your ear and keep these left toes active. Hook your elbow over the right thigh, spread your fingers, sitting tall, staying alert here, and sending your gaze over that back right shoulder. Now, as we hold for 3 breaths, we can be aware to whether we're really using this hand, this kickstand, a little bit too much, too reliant on it. Can you go to your fingertips, your thumb tips, so you're just about touching it down? Your navel, that Idyada Bandha, is pulling back to the spine. You're really noticing the crown lifting, the shoulders melting away from the ears, and the gaze maybe spiraling over a little bit further. Maybe the fingers walk. you're going to take that next inhale and just take that into a little counter twist. So I'm taking my right elbow to the inside of the thigh, the left hand around. We're in this open twist, still sitting tall. Left toes still drawing back, breath in. Think smiling across the collarbones, breath out, think dropping down, left shoulder away from ear. And then back to the front or the bottom of your mat. You're just going to unwind that. Give a good shake into the knees. Come into your Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together. And we're just going to hold the ankles and flutter the knees. So it's a nice little sort of fascia manipulation, working a little bit here with the vagus nerve actually. And we're just taking almost like butterfly wings. It doesn't have to look any kind of particular way. Just breathing. For 2, for 1. That's it. And then we're going to take that twist on the other side. So taking your left leg long, your right leg long, your left knee to bend in, foot to the floor, and stepping this left foot over that right thigh. So I want to be grounded in my left buttock. It's really tempting to really be quite enthusiastic about this right foot going over. And then we kind of roll and we surf off to that side. So if you have something perhaps like a thin book or a thin yoga block, that would be nice to elevate the seat, even a cushion. If you're noticing it lift, it's a nice addition. So we're really sitting tall, shoulders are down. You're taking your left hand behind you, remembering not to dump, shoulder lifts, spine collapses. So a light touch. Breastbone is pulling forward, right arm lifts by the ears, right toes are active, we hook over and we really try to spread the fingers. Keep that sternum proud. Can you think about opening and dialing this left rib cage around, light touch, maybe the fingers move, but there's less striving, there's more surrender here. We're not forcing and yanking in the shoulders. One more breath in to grow taller. One more breath out, soften the tongue in the mouth. Settle the gaze. And then we open that up and we come to this opposing twist, this open twist. Left elbow inner, left thigh, right hand behind, sit tall. Breath in for 2. Breath out for 2. Breath in for 1. Breath out for 1. And then spiral that around. You're just going to release the legs. Take them long, take a little wiggle of the knees here, pull your toes back, option to have a bend in the knees, even an option to take bricks to wedge under the knees. So we know we're not hyperextending, we're not locking and dumping into the back of those joints. This is something that's really common if the hamstrings are feeling particularly tight or you've got tight lower back, sacrum or lumbar spine area. So this is your option. You might creep the fingers forward. You breathe in, you get a longer spine. You breathe out, you're trying to draw your chest down. If without the bricks, maybe we lift the arms and we take the big toes. Breathing in, breathing out. We're not going particularly deep here. It's more the focus on the crown of the head, reaching toward the top of the mat. The tilt initiated from the hips. We tilt as if there's a karate chop in the hips. The sternum reaches forward, the breastbone might dive. Paschimottanasana, double leg, forward fold. One more breath in, breath out, toes pulling back. And then you're just crossing your legs, taking the legs underneath you. And we'll go wide with the knees, big toes together. Taking the head, taking the heart down. Palms can be flush to the mat, shoulders could soften. We're in our extended child's pose. There are different variations, and to run you through them so you can choose for yourself, we have hugged child's, a little more unusual. You would have this gap between the legs, so you wouldn't do this with the thighs closed perhaps. You would run your right arm, your left arm through, and you would hold the feet and the head goes down. Hugged child's pose. Another variation is bound child's pose. Your head is down, your hands make a fist. They land onto the lower back, onto the sacrum. We can come into our Anjali Mudra. This joining the two halves of the hands into prayer, palm to palm. Finding a tricep stretch, the elbows bend and we hug the head. prayer child's pose. We can take the hands around to the feet. A really beautiful one if you're thinking of maybe working with our Muladhara, that root chakra, in times where we feel a little unstable or decisions are quite hard to make. Nice energy center to work with, the first chakra. Holding the feet, just connecting with that grounding energy. And the last one I'm offering to you today is our twisted child's pose. Think of it as you're threading the needle, in which your right arm reaches forward and your left arm threads underneath, and your left ear either finds the floor, or you could add a brick here for your left cheek, your left ear. You could even add a brick here for your right hand. Twisted child's pose, really getting low to the earth, stretching into the round of that shoulder, the back of the shoulder. And then, of course, we would do that on the other side, with or without the brick. Left arm forward, right arm threaded, right cheek down, right shoulder. It's almost like you're having a little glimpse underneath that right armpit. Palm of the hand of the threaded arm, in this case the right arm faces up to the sky, so there's this external rotation, and then unwinding. And let's come to our tabletop once more. Come into our bird dog, so extending the right arm forward and the left leg back, and there's a sense of space. Fingertips are energized, toes are energized, and the navel's pulling back. Exhale, lower the hand, lower the knee. Other side, left arm, right leg, breath in. Get longer. Think of energized, arm, leg, center. Exhale. And you can either stick with this breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, or right arm, left leg. You stick with this same arm, same leg, and you draw the elbow to the knee or the knee to the nose. And then we do 4 more. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. 2 more, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, hand down, knee down. Let's take a little shuffle of the hips side to side. And a favorite of mine is to draw the inner heels together, squeeze the mid seam of the legs, the leggings together, and take a little drop of the heels to the right, looking over the right shoulder. There's a little crunch in the right side of the waist. And then pivoting on the knees, so I'm just picking up my shins, my heels, spinning the shins to the left, looking over the left. A little wag, you're wagging your tail there, just to really get a little bit of warmth into the spine, and then bringing that back to center, knees re-established under the hips again. Let's go left arm, right leg, breath in. Sticking with the side, 5, inhale, for 4, inhale. Think of spreading your fingers, your thumb on the right hand. For 2, and for 1, hand down, knee down. From here, let's tuck the toes, lift the knees, and look through the gap of the legs. So we're finding that soft but focused gaze, and we call this drishti in yoga. Your drishti in Ashtanga yoga, there are 9 drishti points. To name a few: the toes, the floor, the thumbs, any one of the fingers, your third eye, your nose. So the top of the mat, also 1. Lots and lots of drishti points. You might think about where your gaze is focusing. Are you here? Are you present? Or is your mind somewhere else? We'll start to drop the left heel, pick up the right. Drop the right, lift the left. So walking out through the heels, walking your dog for 5, for 4. Quite strong on the shoulders. If we're not used to holding this pose, there's always a chance here to kiss the knees down and come to your child's pose at any point during our flow. And one more here. And then we're going to take the gaze through the arms, soften the knees, walk the feet behind the wrists. It's nice here if you have some bricks, you can use them as boulders. They're slightly in front of the toes there. You're going to soften your knees, dangle your head, bend your elbows. Think of the weight being more in the balls of the feet and the toes than it is the heels. And you could even have this real quite significant bend in the knees here, maybe your chest sandwiches to your thighs. Option to hold your opposite elbow, ragdoll arms, and you can come to this nice little swing side to side. Option to heel toe the feet a little bit wider for a stronger sense of stability. You might try that out and see how you feel. One more breath here in your ragdoll. And I welcome anything that is audible. Remember, you might be practicing at home and you're not have anyone around, so size and expression is all good. Welcome it into the practice. You're going to soften your fingers down to the floor, soften your knees and stack your spine. And we come to probably the most renowned yoga pose, that is mountain pose. So we're standing strong in the legs. And we might pull up the leggings. We might tuck a piece of hair away from the face. But what I want you to do is just have this little rock back and forth and just redistribute the weight in the toes, transfer it to the heels. Lift all 10 toes, spread them down like you're trying to Mexican wave. Lift all 10 from the little to the big toes, Mexican wave. Spread all 10, little, all the way down to the big toe. Notice how that feels, that dexterity in the toes. Now think about if you've got this sort of anterior or posterior tilt of the pelvis, can you tuck the tailbone down? Little bend in the knees so they're not locked. Lifting up from the crown of the head. Maybe the palms are facing forward. So if I was standing and this is the top of my mat, I'm here. We breathe in. We breathe out. Breathing in, lift the arms. Find your Anjali mudra. Lift your gaze. Exhale, swan dive down. Maybe your hands find those bricks. Maybe they touch the floor. And we're just going to take a halfway lift named Ardha Uttanasana. It could be up to your fingertips. You're drawing the lower belly back, or your hands might be to your shins and you're lengthening through your spine. Exhale, plant the hands down. We're stepping back with the right knee and the right foot. Land the knee. Lift the arms, breath in. Breath out. You're going to take that right hand down. You're going to pick up your right knee and lift up through your left arm. Breath out, land your left hand, step all the way back and find your downward facing dog. Taking 3 breaths, in for 3, out for 3, in for 2, out for 2, in for 1, out for 1. Look forward, soft drishti, top of the mat. Step that right foot forward. Land your left knee, lifting your chest up, lifting the arms up. Exhale, taking your left hand down, just neighboring that right foot. Option to keep the knee down and reach up through that right rib cage. Option to pick the knee up. Exhale, hands either side of the front foot, stepping to the top of the mat. Find your fold. Option to sweep the arms back. Find a fist. Press your knuckles up to sky. Scoop the navel back to the spine and land through the chest. Releasing the hands without pinging the fingers. We lift, sweeping hands to shins, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, lower, find your full fold. Root to rise, pressing down into the feet. Lift the arms up, breath in. Growing tall, palms press. Exhale, hands to the heart center. We do on the other side. Inhale, root to rise, breath in, palms press. Exhale, finding that swan dive down, Uttanasana. Halfway, long, long spine, breath in. Breath out, stepping your left knee, left foot to the back of the mat. Lift the arms, breath in. Breath out, that left hand lands. Option to keep left knee down. Reach up, think dialing your right rib cage up to the sky. Option to pick up the knee. Land the hand, frame the foot, stepping back, downward facing dog. 3 breaths, in for 3. Out for 3. Rolling those shoulders away from the ears. 1 more here, in for 1. Out for 1. Soften your gaze, your knees, look to the top of the mat. Step your left foot through. Land your right knee. Lift the arms, sternum lifted, tailbone lowering. Right hand lowers to the inside of the foot, look up through the left arm line. Maybe pick up that back knee. Exhale, framing that front foot, step to the top of the mat, find your fold. Option to come into gorilla pose, lifting right toes, standing on the right hand. Lifting left toes, standing on the left hand. Rock the weight forward into the balls of the feet here. You could bend the elbows. 2 breaths. 1 breath. Release your hands one at a time. Sweep the hands to the shins, lengthen your spine. Think about drawing the lower belly back to protect this lower back. Exhale, refold. Root to rise. Press into the 4 corners of the feet. Lift the heart. Palms meet. Squeeze everything into that center line. Grow taller. Tailbone dropping down. Exhale, hands to the heart center. We're moving into Vrikshasana, our tree pose. So standing into the right leg, you're going to stay stood at the top of the mat. You would be here. I'm just going to show you face on. So standing, and you can use this left hand perhaps to find the inside of the leg. Option for hands onto hips. This is a really nice one for alignment. You can really see and feel if you're sort of dumping down into this right hip. It's going to naturally pop out. Yeah. So think about lifting your ribs out of your hips. There's a softening, a slight micro bend in this standing leg. There's an external rotation, like your thigh bone is opening like a gate. There's a squeezing and tucking under of that left buttock. There's an opening of these hip bones. Now you might join yourself to the center, finding that left palm, that right palm meet. Think of the framework of the arms, elbows firing away from each other, palms pressing in. Lift through the head, draw back the navel. Give it a few more breaths. If you'd like, you could lift your arms up over the head. Holding strong. That ankle's probably wobbling about, acclimatizing, working hard to sustain this. Maybe that calf muscle's starting to flicker. 1 more breath. Ribs getting more space between them. Exhale, draw that line down the center, past the nose, the throat to the heart. Gently taking a step down, feet joined together. We're coming into chair pose, so you're going to be stood at the top of your mat. Reach your arms, tuck your tailbone under and bend at the knees, finding your chair. You're going to sweep the arms forward, lower the head, Uttanasana. Fingertips to earth or sweeping hands to shins lengthen. Plant your hands down, step your right foot to the back of the mat, land the back knee, lift the arms, breath in. This time we're going to take that right arm forward and the left arm back and find this twist. Can you take your left eye to your left thumb? Really trying to wring out the waist, think energy through the fingers. Inhale, reaching tall. Exhale, bringing those hands down. We step back to downward facing dog, all the way back. Taking a shake of the head here, maybe as a no, left and right. Maybe a nod up and down in a yes. Look through to the top of the mat. coming into your plank. We come forward into this long line here. We're really trying to draw those frontal hip bones to the eyes and draw the sit bones back to the heels. Shift the weight forward, bend the elbows, chaturanga all the way down. Tops of the feet soften, hands are under the shoulders, elbows locked in, cobra, lifting your heart space. Now a test here, we lift the hands, so we realize if we're really utilizing those hands, are we relying on them too much, that we would collapse down. Little hover, hands down, peel the body back, find your child's pose. We take that bound child's pose, hands into a fist, squeezing the shoulder blades. Rabbit pose, rabbitasana. So your hips lift. You will be rolling from the crown of the head, the forehead to the crown of the head, pressing the knuckles up to the sky and trying to really scoop the lower belly out. And then as you roll back down to the forehead, your hips will naturally lower to the heels and your hands can stay in that fist, resting on the lower back. Twice more, inhale, a little bit of pressure to the crown. Maybe those hands, they press beyond the space of the shoulder blades. Exhale, rolling it down, resting here. If it's really strenuous on the shoulders, you could hold perhaps a dressing gown tie or a scarf. Hold the hands fisted, pull it taut, and you would press that up. Pretend that I'm doing it here, just moving my hair out of the way there, and exhale like so. Taking that strap to one side or unwinding the hands. We're going to take that gaze forward, soft gaze, bring it to tabletop here. Tucking your toes under, lifting your knees, picking up your hips. Find your downward facing dog. Three-legged dog, right leg lifts, inhale. Holding for 2, pressing back and up, 1. You step that forward, Andianasana, right foot through, left knee down, bringing the hands behind you, find that fist, squeeze the shoulder blades. Take the hands down, step to the top of the mat, Uttanasana fold. Back to your chair. Bending your knees, dropping your tailbone, drawing the navel back to the spine, lower, lower, lower with your seat and standing tall, inhale. We move to that Vrikshasana tree on the left, standing into the left leg, standing at the top of the mat, taking the right foot to somewhere on the inner thigh, it could be the calf muscle, bringing your hands to your hips and just notice for that alignment, is there any sort of dumping into the hips? Are those hip bones trying to pull apart? The right knee moving out to the right side, and maybe the hands meet. Softness in that left knee. Lightness in the chest and the heart. 3 breaths. Option to lift the arms. For 2. And 1. Next exhalation, draw that line, nose, throat, heart space. Joining the feet together here. Joining the feet together. We're standing at the top of the mat. We sink down into that chair pose, Utkatasana. Sweep the arms. We're going up and back into this halfway lift. Your palms are down. You're squeezing that nut between the shoulder blades. Little bend in the knees. Exhale, fold it down. Once more, inhale halfway, palms floating down, exhale, fold. Now we're stepping back with the left knee, fingertips to the earth, left knee lands, left foot lands. Lift the arms, breath in. Breath out, left arm forward, right arm back. Find that spiraling through the waist. It's like you're wringing out your spine. Can your right eye find your right thumb? Work with that stability, driving down where you're grounded, lifting tall. Arms up, exhale, land the hands. Step it back, downward facing dog. Taking 2 breaths. And you can always take a little lift and lower of the right hand, the left hand, just so that you've got equal part weight in both. Maybe you walk your feet a little bit further away, or you bring your feet a little bit further in. So you're really establishing these 4 pillars that are holding you up there. And then the left leg lifts, 3-legged dog. Inhale, breathing here for 2. And 1. And Yanasana, left foot steps through to the top of the mat, landing your back knee, lifting your chest, finding that fist, squeezing the shoulder blades, lift the heart. Set those 5 toes down at the top of the mat. Hands float down. We step back to the top of the mat. Find your fold. Back to chair, bend the knees. Tuck the tailbone, reaching up through both sides of the waist. Sit a bit lower. Maybe we lift the heels, lower the heels, come all the way down to seated, cross-legged. And we're just going to find a nice twist. Right hand to the left thigh, left hand behind. 1 breath in, 1 breath out. Other side, left hand, right thigh, right hand behind, breath in. Breath out. And then bringing it into this lying down, Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together. And you can have 1 hand to belly, 1 hand to heart, closing the eyes down if you need for a little pillow under your head or to wrap yourself in a blanket, depending on the temperature of the room that you are practicing in. You might be fine just as you are. Just allowing the rates of the heart that is working hard to pump all of that blood and oxygen around your system. Let that slow down. And start to perhaps withdraw the senses. So we're just scanning this internal landscape of the body. Coming home to the body and using the breath as this really beautiful tool to do so. Watching it ebb and flow. You draw it in and you give it away. You draw it in and you give it away. And with every taking in, there must always be a sense of letting go. With every taking in, there must always be a sense of letting go. You're going to hold here wherever you've landed. We've got a few minutes. That's sweet Shavasana. Maybe the most important part of the practice. We really get to digest that asana, that physical aspect of our yoga practice. So gift yourself some time. Lie here. If lying down isn't for you, you could always come into seated meditation, seated Shavasana. I say this in all my videos, but if you've got loads of time, you might like to stop this video and just take a timer on and have 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you've got to land here. If you are in your reclined butterfly and your feet are together and your knees are out wide, then lengthen your legs and start to wiggle your toes. Maybe you reach your arms overhead for that full body stretch. And you're hugging your legs into your chest, coming into that little ball shape, rolling to your preferred side. There's no right or wrong. Coming up to seated, whatever is good for you. And we'll just give a breath in once we're seated to lift the shoulders. And exhale, lower but shrug. 2 more, inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Join in the hands. Thumbs to the third eye, bowing. Thank you for joining. Namaste.